Alright people, so welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series on current affairs. Now today we are going to cover current affairs related to geography and environment. So all the important news items from the past 1 week related to these subjects shall be covered in today's lecture. Now needless to say this, but I'll still say it. Make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, because if you'll make current affairs your daily habit, only then you'll get a hold over these current affairs. And getting a hold over current affairs is extremely critical for your UPSC examination, because 50% of your paper is related to current affairs, directly or indirectly. Okay? Alright then, let's begin today's discussion. First, let's take a look at the list of topics. So let's begin. So Geography Environment, July part 4, and here are the topics that we are going to cover. So number one topic is International Tiger Day, because it is celebrated every year on 29th of July. So therefore, we are going to talk about India's policy interventions with respect to protecting tigers. What steps has the government taken and what results have these steps yielded? Okay. Then topic number 2 is White-Bellied Heron in Lohit Basin. So this is a bird species that is extremely threatened, okay, critically endangered, and currently the government has given a go-ahead to a dam hydroelectric power project which will further threaten the survival of this species. So we have to talk about this. Then topic number 3 is anhydrous ammonia in farming. Currently we use urea for nitrogen requirements. We are now planning to use anhydrous ammonia because it offers significant advantages over urea. So this is topic number 3. And topic number 4 is related to National Green Hydrogen Mission. So these are the 4 news items that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is International Tiger Day. So since 2010, on 29th July, every year we celebrate International Tiger Day. Now you all know way back in 2014, tiger population was really problematic. Okay, tiger numbers were dwindling. But after that, after significant policy interventions by Government of India, well, tiger population has resurged, right? So on this very occasion of International Tiger Day, we will talk about government steps to protect tigers and other things, other statutory, non-statutory steps. So we will basically talk about conservation of tigers in India, okay, on this occasion. So let's begin. So International Tiger Day. So, well, this is the logo by WWF. So observed annually on July 29th, International Tiger Day was established, remember this fact, at 2010 St. Petersburg Tiger Summit in Russia. Okay, so remember this fact, relevant for prelims, where 13 tiger range countries committed to the TX2 goal. Now, what was TX2 goal? Double the tiger population by 2022. So this resolve was made in 2010. Therefore, from this very short paragraph, you have to remember 2 facts. Number 1, International Tiger Day was started from which summit? And number 2, what is this TX2? Okay, all right. Now, let's talk about tigers in India. Okay, India has a global stronghold with respect to tiger population. Why? Because 75% of the global tiger population resides in India. Okay, India has a very large protected area network. So we have 58 tiger reserves spanning across 18 states. Plus we have laws in place to protect tigers. Number 1 law is, which is there to protect all the other species as well, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It has various schedules. Now those species which are mentioned in Schedule 1 receive highest protection from the government. Okay, tigers are placed in this Schedule 1. Then we have also created a statutory body specifically for tigers, and that is National Tiger Conservation Authority. What do I mean by statutory body? Well, a body that was created by authority of a law made by Parliament. Okay, so NTCA is a statutory body. Now, some more information. Well, Government of India has taken various steps to protect tigers, but Government of India has also taken the help of technology to conserve tigers. Okay, some examples of those technologies, because these questions can also be asked in prelims. Some examples are M-Stripes. It is basically an app that is GPS, GPRS enabled, and it is given to patrolling officers, okay, forest officials that patrol the forest areas. Because it is enabled with the GPS, so it guides the forest officials with routes, tiger routes, okay, and it has cameras, it can click pictures, all that stuff. Then cat rat, species sorting. So basically, AI-enabled cameras are placed across the entire forest range, and these cameras click pictures of tigers. Okay, Now, and other species as well. This cataract is AI enabled so that it classifies those species, identifies those species. And these same cameras are also enabled with extract compare, another AI software which identifies individual tigers. Okay, you see, for us, for a human eye, all tigers look the same, but they have different markers as well, different individual markers. Like every individual human being has a unique fingerprint. Similarly, the stripe patterns of each and every tiger, they are also different, and this software actually identifies that and allocates an individual ID to each and every tiger. So these are some of the softwares, AI enabled tools that are helping forest officials conserve this species. Okay, now some statutory and international steps taken by government to protect tigers. You should be aware of these as well. So number one is National Tiger Conservation Authority. It works under Ministry of Environment and it was established under Wildlife Protection Act. Basically, you amended Wildlife Protection Act in 2006 to create NTCA. Then, NTCA follows a set of rules, guidelines, okay, to protect tigers. Now, these guidelines are internationally accepted. Basically, a group of countries got together and created these guidelines so that each and every country follows these guidelines, and these guidelines would help them conserve tigers. These guidelines are called Management Effectiveness Evaluation. These are also followed by NTCA. Then India created this international body called International Big Cat Alliance to preserve 7 big cat species. Tigers are just one of them. Jaguars are there, leopards are there. So India is the founding member of this. And, well, tigers in India also cross international borders. They cross over to Bhutan, they cross over to Nepal, they cross over to Bangladesh as well. Now, to allow for seamless movement of these tigers, because these borders are for humans, not for animals, right? So to allow seamless movement of these tigers across international borders, we have signed various agreements with these 3 countries. Transboundary Landscape Management Agreement. So this is also in place. Clear? Now, all of this sounds very good. India is doing really well, but there are certain challenges also, which, if aggravated to a certain extent, can threaten tiger population in India again. Now, what are these challenges? We need to be mindful of them. Okay. So, challenge number 1, habitat fragmentation. Many linear infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, railway tracks. Well, these linear infrastructure projects sometimes cross through tiger habitats, and they divide the tiger habitat into 2-3 parts. This fragments their habitat and that creates challenges for them. Okay, they cannot roam around freely, and there is also a risk of colliding with a bus, truck, or a train. So this is there. Then you see, tigers prey are these ungulate species. Okay, now like deer feeds a particular form of grass. Now, in some forests, because of some mistake, some invasive plant species invade and they destroy this grass. This grass gets destroyed. Deer population gets destroyed, which forms a prey base for these tigers, food source for these tigers. Now, when their prey base disintegrates or dwindles down, well, tiger population finds it hard to survive. So this is a problem. And then there is climate change. Okay, mangrove Sundarban forests are shrinking. High altitude habitats of tigers, they are shrinking, melting down. This is happening across the world. So this is another big challenge, right? That's about it. That's all you need to know as far as International Tiger Day. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is white-bellied heron in Lohit Basin. Now this white-bellied heron is a bird species, okay? And it hunts down fishes, okay, aquatic animals. And these aquatic animals are shallow water aquatic animals found in rivers. Okay. Now, white-bellied heron is a critically endangered species. Around 60 of these birds are left in the entire world, and only 6 to 9 of them survive in India. That's it, 6 to 9. That is why they are critically endangered and they can anytime become extinct. Therefore, we need to put in extra efforts to conserve them. But well, recently Ministry of Environment gave a go-ahead environmental clearance to a dam which would be constructed on Lohit River. Now this river basin forms a critical habitat of these birds. If this dam gets built, this habitat would get destroyed, and these very few in number white-bellied heron birds they would further not be able to reproduce, or because their habitat would be in danger, so it would be difficult for them to survive. Let's put it this way. Okay, so let's talk about this entire issue. We'll talk about white-bellied heron, where is it found, and what flaws are there in this environmental clearance given by Ministry of Environment. Let's talk about this. Okay, so white-bellied heron in Lohit Basin. So this was in the news. This is how the bird looks. It is called white-bellied. This bird species is called heron. It has a white belly. That is why. Now this is Lohit River Basin. Okay, you know the news. Now let's talk about this river. This species. So its global population is less than 60, and 45% of these birds are found in Bhutan. Okay, 6 to 9 are found in India, and most of them are in this Lohit River Basin, which is in Arunachal Pradesh. Lohit River is basically a tributary of Brahmaputra. Okay, so it is found over here. Now, if this project goes through, 33,000 plus trees would have to be cut down. Okay, that's a lot. And the nearby area would get submerged because of this dam. So this entire forest ecological habitat would get destroyed. And this habitat is important because 70% of these surviving birds in India are in this habitat. Clear? Now some more information, conservation related information about this bird. So its IUCN status is critically endangered. This is the highest. In Wildlife Protection Act, it is again found in Schedule 1. Remember Schedule 1, right? So this is the thing. Now, its geographical range in India and the region. So in India, it is found in Arunachal Pradesh, only in Arunachal Pradesh, and in 3 river basins, Lohit, Dihang, Laham. Global stronghold is in Bhutan because 45% of these birds are found in Bhutan. And extinct zones. These birds were once found in Nepal, in Bangladesh also. Okay? And if India does not take adequate steps, well, along with Nepal and Bangladesh, you would have to write India as well. Just a second. You would have to write India as well. Okay, this is really alarming situation. Now, why is this dam threatening for these birds? Okay, first of all, when you build a dam, it alters the flow of that river. That would alter the aquatic animals found in that river. Okay, and these birds would find it hard to hunt in these rivers. Okay, because these birds hunt only in shallow waters. Now, with this dam, some water channels would go deep. This would be a problem. Plus, it would alter the flow, so it would increase water turbidity. Water would move a lot, and so the visibility through the water for these birds, that would get harmed. And then, well, most of these trees that are going to get cut, well, these are important nesting sites for these birds. Well, naturally so, if they are not able to form nests, well, how would they survive? So this is a huge issue. Now, what flaws are there in this environmental clearance? Okay, you see, whenever any infrastructure project is given, okay, for development, you have to perform this mandatory environmental impact assessment. So for this Lohit River project also, environmental impact assessment was conducted, and based on this report, Ministry of Environment gave its clearance. But this environmental impact assessment had certain flaws. These flaws are given in this second column. Okay, for example, in this environmental impact assessment, there was no report on the impact of this project on this heron bird. This bird was conveniently omitted from the study. This is a problem. Okay, then you only did a study on the impact of this project, not the impact of this project in conjunction with other dams in the entire basin. This is a problem. So there are multiple problems with this. What should have been done is given in the third column. So go through this, okay? This table is given in your notes, so do check it out. And last, let's talk about way forward. So what can we do to increase the number of this critical species? First, designate certain areas in Arunachal Pradesh as critical wildlife habitat and allow no human interference over there, okay? Or minimal human interference over there. This should be done. Then, well, these birds are just 6 to 9 in number. That's this number is very low, okay? So you need to go for ex situ conservation. Ex situ means you have to remove these birds from their natural habitat, put them in a protected zoo and breed them over there. Bhutan is currently doing this, captive breeding, okay? So as to increase their numbers and then release them in the wild. This should be done. Then community-based ecotourism and guardianship. Raise awareness in the nearby villages so that they would on their own protect this bird. Okay, and so that these communities can generate revenue, allow ecotourism over here, and in the end follow environmental flows, e-flows protocol. What is this? Well, whenever you design a dam, design it in such a way that the flow of the river does not get much altered, does not get altered that much. Now, for that design, you need to follow these rules and regulations, which are called e-flows protocol. So each and every dam should follow this e-flows protocol. Government should make it mandatory. That's about it. Okay, that's all you need to know as far as white-bellied heron is concerned. And now let's quickly shift our focus to anhydrous ammonia in farming. Now listen to me very carefully. Okay, this is important. You see, the most consumed fertilizer in India is urea. And what does urea do? Well, Indian soils are nitrogen deficient. So urea provides that nitrogen to Indian soils, which is required by all crops. Okay, so we use urea for nitrogen needs of our soil. But urea has certain problems. Okay, many problems basically. But we would focus on two problems. Okay, problem number one. Much of urea consumed in India is imported. So we are import dependent. We have significant import bill with respect to urea. Then the amount of urea that is manufactured in India, well, that requires natural gas as raw material. And natural gas is something that we import from Qatar and all, which was recently blocked because of Strait of Hormuz crisis. So we are significantly import dependent for our agricultural needs. We need to find an alternative. Okay? And that alternative is anhydrous ammonia. Now, what is ammonia? Well, ammonia is another nitrogenous compound which can be used, which if sprayed on the soil, can provide for the nitrogen needs of that soil. Okay, so we can safely substitute urea with anhydrous ammonia, and anhydrous ammonia can be produced, manufactured locally in India. So it solves this problem. Okay, so let's look into this issue, right? So let's begin. So anhydrous ammonia in farming. So on July 23rd, Ministry of Agriculture issued an order, fertilizer control order, and in that they have allowed a 3-year trial of anhydrous ammonia on Indian soils. So remember, we are currently looking at pros and cons of this new substance. Okay, we want to be sure before we start using it on a wider scale. Therefore, we are conducting this 3-year trial period. Right? So this order is basically as per clause 20A of fertilizer control order. Trial duration is 3 years. And well, India becomes the 4th country. This is important fact for prelims. India becomes the 4th country in the world to use anhydrous ammonia as fertilizer after US, Canada and Australia. Remember this fact. Okay. Now, here is a proper comparison of anhydrous ammonia and urea. Okay. If we compare by weight, well, anhydrous ammonia has more nitrogen as compared to urea. It is in liquid form, it is in solid powdered form. Okay, direct pressurized soil injection, well, you spray it inside the soil and this is basically thrown around, the powder is thrown around. It reacts with soil moisture to form stable ammonium ions, hydrolyzed by urease enzyme into ammonium carbonate, that's a technical detail. And it has high nitrogen use efficiency. The amount of nitrogen you throw, 60 to 70% gets absorbed by the soil when you use ammonia. But when you use urea, only 40% gets absorbed. So it has high efficiency plus more nitrogen content. So basically, sounds good on paper, win-win situation. Clear? Now what benefits would accrue to India if India uses this on a mass scale? Import dependence, okay, both for urea and natural gas. Then subsidy burden also. Urea production cost is pretty high, okay. So, and that cost is compensated for by government subsidy bill. But production cost of anhydrous ammonia is not that high, so government subsidy bill would also get reduced. So this is there. Plus, logistics efficiency. Because anhydrous ammonia has more nitrogen content, well, you can transport less amount of anhydrous ammonia as compared to urea. Because urea provides less nitrogen. So transportation would become easier. Plus, ammonia can be created using hydrogen. Okay. Now, if this hydrogen is produced through renewable electricity, this is green hydrogen. Okay. And since you'll use green hydrogen to produce ammonia, this will be green ammonia. Now, if there is increased demand for ammonia, there would be increased demand for hydrogen. this would be huge success for government's national green hydrogen mission. Okay, so you can integrate this scheme with green hydrogen mission and both would be successful. So this advantage is also there. So everything looks good on paper, right? But, well, it's not that easy. And this is the reason why the government has decided to go for a trial period rather than using it from today itself. Okay, what are the challenges? So the challenges are as following. Okay, safety and handling hazards, because ammonia is a toxic corrosive gas. If while transportation it gets leaked, it can lead to respiratory problems, skin burning and all. Then high capital requirement and fragmented land holdings. Only big farmers can afford it, because to apply this fertilizer, you need heavy tractor machinery. And more than majority of Indian farmers are either small or marginal. They cannot afford this. Then, soil health considerations. Why? Because for the short term, when you apply anhydrous ammonia, it increases the pH level of the soil, which destroys, well, soil bacterium, beneficial soil bacterium. So in the short term, there can be some consequences. Okay, that would be all. That's all you need to know as far as this topic is concerned. And now let's quickly shift our focus to last news item of the day, which is National Green Hydrogen Mission. Now, why was this in the news? Simply put, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has recently sanctioned a project under National Green Hydrogen Mission. As per that project, government is going to launch a bunch of buses, trucks, heavy transport vehicles that would run on hydrogen as fuel. And government would run these heavy transport vehicles on commercial routes in India. Okay? Because we want to slowly transition towards either electric mobility or hydrogen mobility. We want to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. This is a stated policy goal, right? So let's talk about this project, okay? And there are some technical details that are important for you to understand, because prelims questions can be created out of this. So pay close attention, okay? So National Green Hydrogen Mission, the reason why it was in the news is because, well, the entire mission is of 19,000 crores, approximately 20,000 crores. But new project under this by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is, well, this green hydrogen mission mobility. It is of 208 crores. So this is this project, transport pilots. So this project is of 208 crores. Okay, 208 crores would be provided by the government. Other would be sourced through private. Deployment network, 37 heavy vehicles. Okay, infrastructure would be given to this, because if these trucks are going to move, they would require refueling from place to place. Okay, I mean, you require refueling infrastructure. So 9 high pressure refueling stations. Clear? Now over here it is written that out of these 37 heavy vehicles, 15 would be FCEVs, 22 would be H2Is. What does that mean? This is what it means. Well, hydrogen as a fuel can be used in 2 ways. Number 1, you all know about batteries. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so sorry. You all know about batteries, right, for electric vehicles. There is a particular category of batteries. Okay, there is specifically a particular category of battery called fuel cell, which requires hydrogen. These are called hydrogen fuel cells. Okay, now these hydrogen fuel cells use hydrogen and oxygen, combine them, create water and electricity, and water vapor is released. So this electricity powers this battery, and this battery powers the truck or a bus. So this is FCEV, fuel cell electric vehicles. Then the other is hydrogen internal combustion engines. Well, the current vehicles that we use that run on petrol or diesel, well, the engines are called internal combustion engines because they burn this petrol or diesel to produce energy. They can also burn hydrogen. So you create specific internal combustion engines called hydrogen internal combustion engines. These are not batteries. They just burn hydrogen to produce energy. So these are also being used. Here. Now here is a comparison between hydrogen fuel cells, hydrogen ice, and normal batteries that we use, lithium ion batteries. So take a look at this comparison also. It's very simple to understand. Just go through this table. Clear? Now what advantages are going to be there if we use hydrogen vehicles? Well, these advantages are given in your notes. Okay, very simple to understand. And yes, again, everything looks good on paper, but to deploy hydrogen as a fuel on a mass scale, well, you need to fulfill certain conditions. There are a few challenges. We need to focus on those challenges. First of all, Green hydrogen production cost is pretty high. So it is difficult for green hydrogen to compete with petrol and diesel. People would prefer petrol and diesel. Why? Because they are cheaper. So this is a problem. Then high infrastructure capital expenditure. You need new refueling stations. You need new car designs. So this is a problem. Plus, hydrogen is an inflammable gas. So its transportation and storage is a challenge. Safety concerns are there. So these concerns, if taken care of, well, the benefits outweigh the challenges. And government should apply this scheme. Go for this scheme. Clear? And on that note, I shall take your leave. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. Now, it will add more value if you are number one, consistent and regular with this lecture series. And number two, you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. Make sure you do that, because revision is important to consolidate these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. So make sure that you do this necessary revision. On that note, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.